Okay, let's get straight into it. Today, we're taking a deep dive into that absolutely gripping MotoGP race from Qatar.
Yeah, what a race.
You sent over a fantastic collection of material, the live race commentary, those really insightful post-race interviews, and even a detailed analysis video.
Loads to chew on there.
Exactly. So our mission today is, well, to cut through the noise, pull out the most fascinating aspects, understand those key moments, and, see what this all tells us about how the championship might be shaping up.
And Qatar certainly threw us a curveball, didn't it? One of our sources hinted early on that the weekend might not follow the expected script.
And it definitely didn't.
It really lived up to that. Forget straightforward dominance for the usual suspects. This race had surprises, well, pretty much everywhere.
Totally. And the key players really delivered on the unexpected. We had Marquez, as ever, right in the thick of it.
Always.
The Maverick Viñales put in a truly exceptional performance. And Pecco Bagnaia had, well, a race of recovery and some serious self-reflection afterwards.
Different stories for all three.
But it wasn't just them. Franco Morbidelli's lightning start.
Yeah.
Wow. That really injected some early drama, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Showed that anything can happen.
So yeah, we're going to unpack how Marquez masterfully played the long game, how Viñales stunned on a non-Ducati, and really dig into Bagnaia's perspective on a weekend where perhaps things didn't click perfectly.
Right. So where do we start? The opening laps.
Let's do it. Jump right in there.
Okay, so the initial launch off the grid was relatively clean for the riders we kind of expected to be up front.
Right.
The commentary team noted good starts for Marc Marquez, his brother Alex, and Fabio Quartararo. Pretty standard stuff there.
But then Morbidelli.
Yeah, completely unexpectedly, Franco Morbidelli just launched. He absolutely bolted off the line and snatched the lead.
You could almost hear the jaws drop in the commentary booth.
You really could. They genuinely hadn't considered him a likely contender for the win at all. Big surprise.
It was a phenomenal start.
Yeah.
But things behind him got a bit frantic pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yeah, you had Alex Marquez having a moment, made contact with his brother Marc.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Broke a piece off Mark's bike.
That's right. We heard it was a right side aero element on the rear, one of those little winglets.
Which isn't nothing, right? Those things are pretty important for stability.
Definitely. Especially at Qatar speeds. Losing even a small piece can upset the balance. Then, in that same early chaos, Alex tangled with Fabio Di Giannantonio.
Yeah. That didn't end well for Di Giannantonio.
No, unfortunately took him right out of contention. Ended up way down in P21, just wiped out his race early on.
And that incident had consequences for Alex Marquez, too.
It did, yeah. Immediate repercussions. He got handed a long lap penalty for it.
Ouch.
It just shows how incredibly tight and, well, unforgiving MotoGP is in those first few laps. Everyone's so bunched up.
What really caught my ear, though, from the commentary in those initial laps, was the different strategies playing out. Tire management already.
Yeah, that was fascinating. You had the Marquez brothers and Viñales looking like they were deliberately settling in, like they were thinking long term.
Conserving, maybe.
Exactly. Conserving tires for later. But then you contrast that with Morbidelli and Di Giannantonio.
Pushing hard from the get-go.
Totally. Seemed like they were going flat out right from the start. It immediately set up this, strategic question. Whose approach pays off?
Always the big question in MotoGP these days.
Absolutely. And as things settled down just a little, the focus shifted. We started seeing this battle develop between Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia.
Which the commentary flagged as pretty significant, right?
Yeah, they specifically pointed out this was actually the first time these two had really gone wheel to wheel in a proper race situation.
Wow. Given who they are, that's kind of surprising.
It is quite remarkable, and it was shaping up to be a great fight.
And the commentary described a bit of back and forth.
They did, yeah. This great little sequence where Marc Marquez managed to pass Bagnaia.
Only for Pecco to fight right back.
Instantly. Retook the position in exactly the same spot on track. Proper, intense, strategic stuff. The kind you love to see.
Definitely keeps you glued.
Indeed. But while that was going on, Maverick Viñales, he was putting together a seriously strong ride, almost under the radar initially.
He just worked his way forward.
Steadily. Worked his way through, took the lead, and then held it for quite a while, actually. A significant chunk of the race.
And Qatar's a good track for him historically, isn't it? One of the sources mentioned that.
That's right, yeah. It's been a strong circuit for him in the past. Maybe the track layout, maybe his style. Something just clicks for him there sometimes.
He looked really composed out front. Smooth.
He did. But behind him, The commentary team started wondering about Marquez. His pace seemed, well, maybe a bit slower than expected in that first half.
The tire saving theory again.
Exactly. They were speculating he was consciously managing his tires, specifically mentioning that white-walled front tire he'd opted for.
Which is generally a harder compound, right?
Yeah.
More durable, less initial grip.
Usually, yeah. It strongly suggested Marquez was thinking about the end of the race, not just the middle part, a long-term play.
That makes sense. And it ties into what happened later.
Absolutely, because there was that point where Viñales did manage to open up a small gap on Marquez, maybe half a second.
Looked like he might break away for a second there.
For a moment, yeah, it felt like maybe he could control it from the front.
But then, drama.
Yeah.
With about 7 laps left.
Yep, crunch time. The commentary described Viñales making a mistake, ran a bit wide.
And Marquez was right there.
Pounced, just like that, snatched the lead. It felt like that was the moment Marquez's tire saving paid off.
And the post-race interviews confirmed that strategy, didn't they?
They really did. Marquez himself basically admitted it. Said he'd been nursing that front tire early on, knowing he wanted something left for a final push.
How much did he say he had left?
He specifically mentioned having 10 laps of the front tire to push hard. 10 laps.
Wow. That's incredibly precise calculation.
It's what sets those top guys apart, isn't it? That level of strategic thinking mid-race.
Meanwhile, Bagnaia, a different story unfolding for him.
Completely different experience, yeah. He talked after the race about having to push incredibly hard early on.
To recover from starting P11, right?
Exactly. Had to make up a lot of ground. But he said that early effort really cost him later. Took a big toll on his rear tire grip towards the end.
So he just couldn't close the gap to the front, too?
Nope. Made it incredibly difficult. It just highlights that balancing act, early pace versus tire life. It's so crucial.
And Marquez's saved tires. We saw the proof.
Oh, absolutely. Visibly. Late in the race, he bangs in the fastest lap.
While leading.
Just showing how much performance he still had in hand. One source even noted he set a new race lap record with only 2 laps to go.
That's just rubbing it in, isn't it? A massive statement.
A huge statement about his management and his outright pace when needed.
So those final laps, Marquez just pulled away.
Pretty much, yeah. Started to stretch the lead, controlled it, and crossed the line for a, well, pretty commanding victory in the end.
And Viñales held on for second.
He did. Fantastic second place. And really significant, it was the first podium for a non-Ducati bike in the race.
That's a big deal for KTM and for him. Shows real progress.
Huge deal. Really highlighted how well he rode.
And Bagnaia rounded out the podium in third.
Yep, Pecco salvaged third. But, well, podium's always good.
He didn't sound thrilled.
Not really. His comments afterwards, you could hear the disappointment. He felt his Saturday qualifying really compromised his Sunday race.
It's that whole weekend performance thing in MotoGP now. Every session counts.
It really does. No room for error, even on Saturday.
But the drama didn't quite end at the flag, did it? There was that investigation mentioned.
Yeah. The post-race scrutiny. One source mentioned an investigation into Maverick Viñales' tire pressure.
Oh, right. The minimum pressure rules.
Exactly. It just reminds you how strict the technical regulations are. Even a brilliant ride like that can face questions afterwards. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Hopefully it doesn't overshadow his ride.
Yeah.
On a more serious note, though, there was the incident with Jorge Martin.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. A nasty crash, and then his bike collected Di Gianantonio's machine.
And Martin was injured.
He was. Suffered a pneumothorax, a collapsed lung, required a trip to the hospital.
Oof, that's serious.
It is. You could hear the genuine concern in the commentary. Lots of well wishes for him. A stark reminder of the risks these guys take.
Absolutely. Puts things in perspective. So, after all that, the championship picture. Marc Marquez pulling ahead.
Yeah, the standings shifted quite a bit. Marc now leads his brother Alex by 18 points, and Pecco Bagnaia is 30 points back.
So that win was massive for Marc's title hopes.
Huge, and he knew it too. He recognized how significant this win was, especially at Qatar, a track where Ducati was expected to be strong.
He had that comment, didn't he? About the bike color.
He did. The red-on-red Ducati victory comment really hammered home the point that he beat the dominant manufacturer on their expected turf. A proper statement win.
And Viñales. Obviously happy, despite the potential investigation.
Oh, absolutely thrilled. You could hear the elation really buzzing about his performance on the KTM. And yeah, strongly hoping that tire pressure thing wouldn't spoil it.
You can understand that. And Bagnaia sounded quite self-critical.
Very honest, actually. Frank assessment, openly said he needs to sort out his Saturdays if he wants to fight for wins consistently. Good accountability there.
It's interesting, too. One source mentioned the viewership for the live commentary was really high.
Which isn't surprising, really. It just shows how much this race grabbed people. So much happening, so unpredictable, great entertainment.
And finally, any more talk about Alex Marquez's riding, the incidents?
Yeah, there was some discussion about it in the commentary. His aggressive style, being involved in a couple of clashes. Seems like it's becoming a bit of a talking point. Maybe something he'll need to look at.
Okay, so let's wrap this deep dive up. Key takeaways. Marc Marquez, strategic masterclass, huge win.
Definitely. Then Maverick Viñales, just exceptional on the KTM, a real breakthrough ride.
And Pecco Bagnaia, solid podium, but, looking for more consistency across the weekend.
The race itself was just classic MotoGP. Surprises, action, delivered those aha moments without being overwhelming, kept us hooked.
Absolutely. So that leaves us with a final thought for everyone listening. Given Marc Marquez's dominant win and that strategic approach in Qatar, is this like a real signal? Is the championship momentum shifting his way?
And how are his rivals going to respond? That's the big question for the next races.
Plus, what about that Viñales investigation? What impact could that have, not just on the results, but on how we see his amazing achievement?
Yeah, lots to ponder there. Significant questions to think about until our next deep dive.